Is the 1% Club really the 1% Club? And are you a part of it? Cue the logo and let's get into it. Welcome to the bonus round. Welcome in, everybody, to the bonus round presented by Game Night Greenville. My name is Mark, and today we are trying something new. That's right, you guys may have experienced our trivia before here in Greenville, South Carolina, downtown at Universal Joint on Tuesday nights or at Bullwinkle's Tavern on Wednesday nights. But now we're trying something a little bit different. This is our brand new YouTube segment called the bonus round, where we look at all things game shows, trivia shows, and reality TV. We're going to break down how the shows work, if there's any strategy to work around. Personally, I'm a big numbers guy, so we'll do some number crunching to see if it matches up with what they have in there. And of course, we'll do some sporkling and let you guys see how you would fare with these types of game show and trivia show challenges. Then at the end, we'll let you guys know of all of our upcoming events. But of course, until then, feel free to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and sign up for all the notifications on all of our bonus round videos and our videos here on the YouTube channel. All right, let's jump on into it. Episode 1, conveniently, of course, we're going to be talking about a show that's brand new to us here in America, but's been running for a couple years so far overall. Today, we're looking at a show called The 1% Club. Now, this show itself didn't start here in the US. It actually started over in the UK back in 2022. But now, in less than 3 years, there's actually been a total of 12 other countries now with their own version or planned to have their own version of the show. For the US version, it debuted last summer here in the US, last summer in 2024, and it's hosted by famous actor and comedian himself, Patton Oswalt. The first season had 13 episodes. We're going to be looking at one later on here in the episode. Every episode starts with 100 contestants, and those contestants are asked a total of 15 questions. Now, these aren't your typical trivia questions. These are more kind of brain teasers or kind of like an IQ test. For each question, contestants are given 30 seconds to answer. As the name implies, the 1% Club would be, of course, the toughest brain teasers, the toughest questions that they have on the night. But you start with questions that are in the 90%, 80%, 70%, all the way down to your 1%. Every player starts with $1,000, and over the course of the show, for every player that misses a question or doesn't put in their answer on time, that player is eliminated, and their $1,000 is put into the pot for the possible winners at the end of the night. For all the players that successfully get 4 questions right, they get a pass that can be used on any of the rest of the questions except for the very final 1% question. But if you use your pass, that $1,000 of yours goes into the pot itself. So the maximum prize, 100 contestants, $1,000 each, is $100,000. Additionally, if you make it through 8 questions and you still haven't used your pass, at that time you can actually opt out and keep your $1,000 as a prize, and you'll leave the game from there. Then towards the end of the game, for everybody that makes it to that 1% question, at that point they can decide to take their share of $10,000 or risk it for the final 1% question and see if they can split the total grand prize among everybody else that wins the episode. One thing that's kind of interesting about that, I saw an episode that had 4 players that made it to the 1% question. One person decided to go ahead and quit the game at that point. He took home $2,500, not the total $10,000. So it's potentially what you would split if everyone voted to stop the game. Kind of a weird split there. So in the end, there's a 1% question. The max amount you can earn in total is if everybody's $1,000 goes in the pot and you use your pass, you're splitting a total of $100,000. All right, so let's get into it. Let's see some of these questions, kind of figure out what the difficulty of these questions are, and I'll tell you my theory behind what exactly we mean by all these percentages of a 90% versus an 80%, all the way down to a 1% question, because I think you'll catch on to something. If you guys want to play along with us, I'm going to drop a link down in the description below. Feel free to pause the video here, click that link, and play right along with us. See if you guys can make it down to the final question. Now, I'm going to watch the same episode again. I have not seen this episode before. Let's see just how hard these questions are, and then afterwards, we'll see if the results match up.
Only 1 out of 10 of the Americans we polled got this wrong. It's the easiest question of the night, and we are filming this and beaming it out to millions of people to watch. No pressure. Let's take a look. Which of these American landmarks has men inside it? Contestants, your time starts now.
Gotta be the Washington Monument, right?
Right now, but I don't want to be canceled, so I'm going to pass.
Feels like an easy first question. Let's go with C. So I'll keep track of the numbers too to figure out just how many people miss each question and see if it lines up with my theory. But here we go.
Lost 7 of you on that question. That means we have 93 of you left. Let's look at the answer. The answer was C, Washington Monument. That's the one with men inside of it. Let's take a look. Which of these animals does not go in the blank to make a common phrase? Contestants, your time starts now.
Yeah, so chicken out's a common phrase, pig out's a common phrase. I don't think elephant out is a common phrase. We'll go with B.
We only lost 3. All right. That means 90 of you are left. Let's take a look at the answer. The answer is B. You can chicken out if you're scared. You can pig out if you're hungry. But elephant out is not a common phrase. Let's take a look. Something important was digitally erased from which one of these 3 photos?
Oh, yeah.
Contestants, your time starts now.
Yeah, it'll be letter C. He's missing a front wheel. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Lost 8 of you on that question. That means we have 82 of you left. Let's take a look at the answer.
Okay.
C. The front cyclist is missing his front wheel.
All right, 60%. I think we get this one right. We earn our pass.
What 8-letter piece of produce does this photo represent? Contestants, your time starts now.
Did you guys get this one? Yeah, we got this one. It's eggs on a plant. So, eggplant. Let's go.
Oh. You lost 17 of you on that.
Let's go.
65 of you left. Let's look at what the answer was. Egg plus plant equals egg.
There you go.
Okay. So the prize pot is now at $35,000.
Pretty good so far. So we'll take a break here. Again, that's our one pass, it looks like. So we're 4 questions in, 4 down. Sigh of relief. First video, I haven't embarrassed myself yet. So you kind of see the difficulty between, say, like a 90% and a 60% question. It's kind of like the same type of question, though, right? Like, honestly, I think some of you guys watching this are probably like, how on earth was that a 60% question? So personally, I'm a numbers guy. So let's dive into the numbers just a little bit. If you really had a 90% question to start you off with, right? You have 100 contestants, 90% question. Obviously, after one question, you're left with 90 people. If the next question really is an 80% question, 80% of those 90% of people left is only 72. And if you carry that down for the rest of the 13 questions, are you really in the 1% club, or are you in the, get this, 0.000000107% club? So here's my theory. Rather than it being an 80% question, a 70% question, and so on, I think it's how many people get to that point. Because if you do the numbers that way, a 90% question at the beginning, you're still left with 90% of people. But to get down to 80 people, 80 out of 90, it's an 88.9% question. You're only increasing the difficulty by just a little bit. Here's how that looks if you carry the numbers down for the rest of them too. What's really neat is when you actually get to the 45% question, you hike back up to 90% questions. And get this, if you actually multiply all those percentages down, you do in fact get to the 1%. But check out how significantly it drops with those last 4. The last 4 you'd have a 75% question, a 67% question, a 50% question, and then the final one, 20% question. Now here's another funny way you could think about it as well. If you wanted to have a true 1% and all the questions were of equal difficulty, let's do a little algebra real quick. 15 questions, 1% is your final goal. If you raise 0.01 to the 1/15th power, and the final result you get is 73.6% question, each time. So this is what I think the show is really doing. Those first 8 questions, when you get to checkpoints 1 and 2, the questions are still about 85% level difficulty and above. But I'd be curious, of course, to know, is that the actual strategy they use? Chances are yes, because you go from a 1% club down to a point, what was that decimal again? Yeah, it makes more sense. Now, we did end up playing the rest of the episode out, and we'll post that later on, but we ended up missing question 13 with a pass in our hand, too. Word is the tricky part there. Up or down. I'm going with 9. Locking it in, saving that for question 14.
All right, your time is up now. Let's see. How many of you got the question right? And how many of you are out?
Oh no, I definitely missed it. Oh, it's going to be 10. Oh, it's going to be 10 because of the diagonal backwards in the other direction. Oh, I missed it. Yep. Oh no.
We lost 4 of you. That means we have 8 of you left.
I bet I missed it.
Passes were used. Let's look at the answer.
Yep. Oh no.
Twice across, twice down, each time.
That's about how I feel right now. Well, let's check out the numbers behind the episode. You guys can see overall they do match up pretty well with our theory that the percentages themselves don't necessarily match up to the percent on the question, but by the number of people they want to have left in the game by that point. Now, there were a couple of tougher questions in the middle of the game, with questions 6, 7, and 8 all in the 50s in percentile, but check out how in the second half we actually go back to our higher expected values, including questions 12 and 13, which were nearly both dead on. In the end, this episode had 2 winners, so if I'm a producer, I'm happy with those results. But something interesting happened on the very last question, and I think it proves our theory. Let's check it out. Oh, I see it. It's REE. I know it. Oh, you've got 0, 1, 2, and 3. Y'all, we were that close to taking home the 1% club, the 33,000 in this episode. Let's see if anybody missed it.
Is HFO? HFO.
No.
Kate, what was your answer?
REE.
She's got it.
REE. And Ben, what was your answer?
Okay, that was kind of interesting. Oh, hello, Moose. So wait a minute. Did you guys notice that, by the way? As soon as she said her answer of REE, which again, I think that is the right answer, a whole bunch of people applauded. And yet this is supposed to be a 1% question.
REE.
Yeah, it's a pretty good payday there. There at the end, you heard just how many people cheered when she said her answer. We didn't even know if it was right yet. So these last few weeks, I challenged you guys on our Sporkle channel to try out these questions for yourselves. Thanks again for everybody who did. In total, 15% of you achieved the 1% club, so nice job to those of you who did. So here's how I like to rate these shows. And the first thing to talk about is how much knowledge is actually needed to win these types of games. For this one, you're talking about those brain teaser style questions anybody could get. It's winnable, it's fun to play, and like I said too, halfway through the episode, most of you are probably sitting on a perfect score. And the first question is, can anybody win? Absolutely. Now, is there a guaranteed winner? No. That's kind of the interesting part about this game show. Obviously, the producers want someone to win because having people watch for an entire hour and no winner, come on. But that level of knowledge really is at that good point to where knowing how to do brain teasers and all these types of puzzles, anyone could win, and chances are, more times than not, someone's going to be in that 1% club. Are the rules easy to follow? Yeah, pretty much. You have those 2 checkpoints during the game, but honestly, they don't really feel like they enhance the game too much. Yes, having the pass helps you out later on in the game, but that second checkpoint where you can choose to just leave with $1,000, I was very surprised that one person in this episode actually took it compared to what you could still win left in the game. Speaking of the prize value, what's the level of prize you can win? Well, it does depend on how many people miss their questions compared to you getting all of yours right. Of course, the most you could go home with is the $100,000 prize, and that's a pretty good take home for a day. But of course, there are some game shows and trivia shows out there that offer the $1 million prize and more, so we'll kind of put this in the middle tier when it comes to the total prize you could win. And finally, of course, I always like to see the TV ratings. How much is it actually bringing in? How many viewers are you getting from it? And the ratings for this are actually pretty good. I had here twos and threes, about 1.2 million viewers. It's a show that, like we mentioned, is now kind of worldwide. You've got tons of countries that have their own version of it. And season 2 just got announced with Joel McHale now subbing in as the host. So today in episode 1, our first stamp of approval, if you will. I really do like the 1% Club. It's a really fun show to watch. We're going to put it in the middle rating as far as is it the best game show or trivia show. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. If you guys want to check out the show yourself, I know it's currently on Amazon Prime. When it airs normally, it's going to be on the network of Fox. And it is really fun to find clips of the British version of the show and other versions that are out there. All right, guys. Well, that's the very end of our first episode of the bonus round. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to leave down in the comments what show you want to see next, and we'll break it down on episode 2. Until then, just a couple announcements of events we have coming up. Next week is Valentine's Day Trivia at both of our locations. Tuesday at Universal Joint at 7 p.m. and Wednesday at Bullwinkle's Tavern also at 7. All of our full details can be found either on our Instagram page at Game Night GVL or our Facebook or here on our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe everywhere and like all of our posts. So from all of us at Game Night Greenville, thanks again for playing. We'll see you guys next time on the bonus round. Do you want to be a part of the first video? What are you up to? We have a special appearance from our mascot really quick. Hang on one second. You smell and I love you. If you haven't met our mascot Moose before, this is Moose the Bernedoodle. He may be making some appearances here in videos when he chooses to, but either way.